You wouldn't believe how difficult it is to use a lav mic when you don't have a lavalier to clip it to. Fortunately, I've got a profusion of these patch cables which make excellent little kind of lanyards for lavalier mics to clip to. Patch cables, it must be. So this patch has been staring at me now for many, many weeks, but things have been busy, as you've known. I've been traveling a lot, but also I've been redoing the studio and things are shaping up nicely. Basically, my plan is I currently have obviously an in-the-box system that sums to my Neve 8816, and I've been dreaming up ways in which I can mix things entirely out of the box and working out of the box, which does take longer. You have to rehearse things, perfect things. You need to leave patches like this up for kind of weeks on end. It's very important that I don't stymie my kind of profit center, if you know what I mean. So what I've decided to do is set up an independent system which enables me to perform and mix out of the box, but using the different timescale involved in creating analog, purely doorless music, while still being able to do stuff in the box. So what I've decided to go for is this lunchbox system, which gives me a whole bunch of basically analog channels, and I thought it would be fun to have a stereo channel of the best of the best. So basically we've got two Neves coming, a Neve 1073 EQ and a Neve 1073 compressor, a pair of those to go into these blank holes. I've got some API, EQs and dynamics here, some SSL, I've still got another two of those to come as well, SSL, dynamics and EQs here, and under Jake Jackson's recommendations, these MAG EQs, and Yellow Technology recommended the DBX560A dynamics for those channels. And I'll be investing in a mixing desk that's going to be totally separate from the rest of my system, so these two enterprises can kind of coexist happily without one having to hack into the other. Having all of this luscious rack space, which is a bit of a worry to be honest, has also given me the opportunity of trying the Lexicon VORTEX, which one of this community recommended I tried out. So I thought I'd quickly rig up the Mother 32 to the VORTEX. I'm also trying out my new tie lines, which have been put here by Yellow Technology to the right of the studio. I know little to nothing about the Lexicon VORTEX other than I believe it's late 90s bit of digital kit, and you know, we all know Lexicon because of its wonderful reverb. So I'm looking forward to just going through some of these patches. There's 16 different patches. They each have an A and a B version. The B, I believe, is meant to be more extreme, but then you can also create your own patches and save those. I haven't worked out how to do that yet. So if we just run this, and we're on number 1, reflection, and here we go. Let's just run this and just check out these different sounds. Right, some interesting stuff there. There's a whole bunch of parameters that you can change and tweak, feedback, stuff like that. So I'm going to work out how to make it even more extreme than that. But just another kind of ideas box, kind of interesting and I guess unique in the sense that not many people have them. So quite a fun thing to play with. So I've got this amazing 2HP Pluck thing that I wanted to ask Sandy a question about. A couple of you said that you can actually make this polyphonic. Be interested to know how you go about that. So Sandy, any ideas?
Hi Christian. So last week I was messing around with the 2HP Pluck and it got us thinking, can you play chords with the thing? Because it has essentially got a 4-voice polyphony, so each note will keep ringing until there have been 4 notes played, and then the next note you play will steal the voice from the first note you played, and so on, and it'll keep the voice stealing. So the thing can have 4 notes sounding at a time, but obviously you can only trigger one at a time. So I started playing around with the idea of sort of strumming the thing, so that you have a whole bunch of triggers very close together, each with a different volt per octave coming out at the same time as it. And it's interesting, it sort of works and it sort of doesn't. And it's kind of to do with how quickly you're triggering. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. If you play a trigger and there's a corresponding volts per octave, it will knock out a note at that pitch, but it seems to have trouble tracking if you play lots of triggers close together and that volts per octave value is changing as well. So I found that I was able to get pretty passable 4-note chords, triggering a sort of reasonable strum at like 60 BPM, where it was strumming across a beat. But if I put that up to above sort of 70, it really starts to get pretty nasty and crazy sounding. I'll show you what I mean now. Just like last week, I'm triggering the 2HP Pluck from the Analog 4, but this time I'm using Electron's Overbridge software to send MIDI from the computer, because this is one of those scenarios where trying to sequence a whole bunch of triggers very close together, like a strum, just doesn't make sense to try and do that within modular or within the sequencer from something like the Analog 4. That's something that the computer is really much better at. If I had a keyboard and I was a good keyboardist, then I would probably just play this. You know, there's some times when it's just not, doesn't make sense to try and do it with the modular or with a sequencer. So what I've got, I'll play this back at a really slow tempo and you can hear what it sounds like when it sequences a note. So this is it at like 48 BPM, which I think sounds quite nice. And you can hear that's playing a 4-voice chord really quite well. It sounds kind of like somewhere between an acoustic guitar and an electric piano, maybe. So let's stop that for a second and ramp it up to like twice that speed. So maybe like the mid 80 BPM. And you'll hear what I mean. It doesn't seem to track pitch so well when they're playing very, very close together like that. It's like it just grabs whatever voltage is coming in and has a guess at it. So this is what that sounds like. Just about passable, but it's quite unpleasant. And if I take it up to like 120, it starts to get really quite ghastly. So let's take that down to maybe a more sensible, like 60 BPM or something like that. And again, it tracks quite nicely now. So I think the short answer is no, you can't really play chords on the 2HP Pluck, or certainly not all at once like you could on a guitar or a piano. But it'd be still a perfectly good device for picking out melodies and so on. And of course, now that I've kind of figured out how to tune the thing, I can sequence stuff on the Analog 4 that sounds just as nice alongside. get the idea. It can hold a tune when you're playing slowly enough on it, and it would probably be much better for pulling out a melody than doing a chordal accompaniment like I just did there. But yeah, reasonably simple question with what I think is a pretty weird and interesting answer. Anyway, back to you.
Thanks, Sandy, and thank you, as always, for watching. There's a distinct possibility there may be a hiatus next Monday because I've got something really mental that I'm working on Sunday, so it may be difficult to push out another episode, but I'm hoping the week after next to finally finish this patch and get our kind of series theme music completed before moving on and investigating some other potential uses for the Franken-synth. Thanks as always for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you like what we do, hit like, and if you'd like to be notified the next time we put a video up, just hit the little bell icon. See you next time.